welcome to the finale of what is going to be the Redline Motorsport Porsche Cup Season 2. My name is Ryan Gill, and tonight I am going to be bringing you the final race for the Porsche Cup, but I'm not alone tonight. I will be joined by Fabian Schmidberger.
Hello guys, hello.
And I will also be joined by our very local South African friend, George Smith.
How's it, Ryan? How's it, Fabian? And over to my home circuit at Kyalami tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those tracks that was very excited for with the DLC, and of course we didn't know that we'd be here for the finale when the Porsche Cup started. We were Stephen de Vust, the race organiser, was very much debating which track to have for the finale, and he decided that Kyalami would be quite appropriate, and we're quite glad that he decided that this would be the case. But before we jump into the talking about Kyalami, it's important that we have a good look at the championship standings. So, looking at them right up the top, Alessandro Porta, 214 points so far this season. He has a 16-point lead to second place Daniele Flores, who is only 2 points ahead of Giacomo Peretti. So, these are the main guys that are in contention for the championship. Alessandro Porta mostly has it wrapped up. It would be, well, he'd need an absolute disaster of a race tonight for Daniele Flores or Giacomo Peretti to take this away from him. However, these Porsche Cup races never fail to disappoint, and drama can strike at any moment, and Giacomo Peretti will know that all too well. Fourth place, Stefan Miller. He's 13 points clear of Maxim Yafanov, who is only 1 point clear of Mirko Pomidori. Very close in the championship right there. Zelika Madso, he's kind of sitting in a bit of a comfortable spot at the moment. 12 points to the gap behind him, 10 above him. He probably won't be moving anywhere towards the end of the championship. Anton Vasilyev with 126 points. He's got a close battle with Christopher Wolfgruber and Antonio Serredi. Of course, Antonio Serredi rounding out the top 10. The rest of the championship order has got Frank Elzer in 11th, William Mazzolini, Giorgio Raimondi, Tarek Gamil, and Sergio Suardi. If I quickly go over to the second page, we have Jose Llamas, who has only been around for 2 races in the Porsche Cup, but he's picked up a good collection of points, actually, and a podium at Monza, might we ask. So then there's also Tarek Njomi. He's picked up a lot of penalty points so far this season. In fact, 10 penalty points. He's right on the verge of a championship disqualification. But yeah, he's sitting on 49 points. And there's Tetra Peta, Tom Young, David Doe, Jose Lago Montero, Nico Kramer, Dustin Vust, Sebastian Sienko, Piotr Shinkovic, Aaron O'Brien, Stephen Vust, and Fabian Hartkopf to round out the championship. So, as we cut to the live scenes here at Kyalami, the practice session is ending, and hopefully Fabian Schmidberger has been watching practice and can fill us in on what's been happening over the last 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, sure, I can do that, but before I start that, I want to correct you. I want to correct a small bit from you, because you said that Anton Vasilyev will be fighting with Christopher Wolfgruber for 8th place today, but sadly Christopher Wolfgruber already used 2 sign-outs, and he didn't want to participate in today's race because his internet isn't stable, which we have seen 2 weeks ago in Monza. So he decided to not take part in this race, which sadly means that he will be disqualified, I guess, because then he will surpass the threshold of allowed penalty points. So that's why Christopher Wolfgruber sadly won't fight for P8 anymore. But now to jump over to the current free practice session that is only going to last for a few minutes. We've got Tarek Gamil on the first place, a very fast Tarek Gamil in front of Alexander Borodai. who always impresses us in the qualifyings, and then our championship leader Alessandro Porta on third position, which are very close together. And also Jardia or Jaroslav Honzik is not to forget. He joined us for the last race of the season now, and that's actually his first race in the Porsche Cup, or in this Porsche Cup season. I don't know if he's actually driven the car before, but he's doing pretty well already. So let's see what he will achieve in this race. And if I've seen correctly on his stream, then he will do a last to first challenge, which should be very interesting. Basically, like what Giacomo Prietti did in one of the previous races. So that will be very interesting with Jardia there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to have Jardia here for the final race of the championship. As you were speaking to me earlier in the practice session before we went live, the guy's unbelievable. He's quick in everything. I mean, it's the first time that we've seen him in these Porsche Cup cars, and you know, he's been right up there. So yeah, it could be interesting to see how he does if he is going to qualify at the back of the grid. But there's no doubt that he's going to be incredibly quick here today, so if he qualifies at the back, he'll be giving us some good action to watch. But I think if he qualifies at the front, maybe he could give Tariq Gamil a run for his money today.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen several streams with him. The recent one was the esports event in Race Room that was held on the Nordschleife track, and that was very, very interesting to watch. I mean, the Nordschleife is known for being a track good for overtaking, but Jardia made it look easy. So that's one of his skills, one of his very good skills. So it will be very, very interesting today, and I think that he can probably get into the top 5 today.
Yeah. So as we are waiting, I think we've got. See if we can hit drive and go back into the broadcasting mode. So, who do you think, Fabian, is going to be, well, the man to watch here today? Who do you think is going to take the honours here at Kyalami today? Do you think it's going to be one of the Racing Line boys, or do you have your sights set a bit more on the likes of Tariq Gamil?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because usually I set my money on one of the Racing Line boys, but honestly, the last 2 races, none of them have been on the podium, so I will move away from that direction, and I will probably choose another driver, which is Tariq Gamil, who was on the podium on every race he entered so far in this championship. So I guess Tariq Gamil will at least get a podium today, and maybe even a win.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be interesting to see. Of course, he has been incredibly strong since he joined us at Spa. Took victory quite comfortably indeed. And then it was a bit of a blunder on strategy that gave up a win at the Hungaroring. But then again, he was almost untouchable when it came to Monza. So it's going to be interesting to see where he lines up here today. But I'm going to have my eyes on the Racing Line boys. I think it's been a while since we've seen Giacomo Prietti really challenge for a win, so I'm going to be hoping that the Racing Line boys can put on a good show here today.
Yeah, just as you mentioned it's been a long while. I mean, he hasn't challenged anyone in the last 5 races, if I'm not looking wrong. Laguna Seca, he had a 2nd place, but the guy in front of him, I don't know. I don't remember who it was. It was Maxim Yefanov. He was miles ahead. So he didn't challenge for the win, really. But Solder was basically then, I guess, the last race where he could have challenged for the win, where he got a 2nd place, and that was the 3rd race of the championship. That is a while back, so that should be 6 races back, so 12 weeks ago. That's 3 months of Giacomo Prietti not challenging for the win. And I don't know if you still remember that, guys, but we said that a very boring season will come along, as with Giacomo Prietti being on the first position. But that is not the case anymore.
Yeah, it seems that you were rather proven wrong in your theory that it would be a very boring season. In fact, I think it all started to get turned on its head when we arrived at Zolder in the torrential rain that we had. So it's always nice to see, of course. We never like to see championships, be boring or have no meaning. And whilst it's very unlikely, should we say, that Alessandro Porta will lose the championship here today, anything can happen in these races, and anything does often happen in the last 20 minutes. And, the likes of Giacomo Peretti and the rest are, they're going to be banking on that today, that something could inevitably go wrong to Alessandro Porta.
Kyalami is also one of those tracks. Sorry, I've been a little bit radio silent here, guys. I was just trying to get everything back up and running on my side, but all my internet woes have been fixed as we watch Vasiliev almost get taken out by Cheetah. That corner with the massive sausage curb just before the final corner at the end there will be an interesting one for us to witness throughout the race, I feel. Having watched the 9-hour last year live, and standing right on sort of the corner that faces that Cheetah curb, just seeing how many cars got sent off there, and yeah, I'm expecting this Porsche Cup finale to be quite interesting here at Kyalami, a track that is definitely not forgiving, and for drivers who probably haven't focused on it, I think that it might catch them unawares if they haven't put the time and effort into it.
So now that we have a real local here with George in our booth, what is actually the real way how to pronounce the current racetrack that we're racing on?
It's Kyalami, that's how you say it.
Okay, because I suppose that it was Kyalami, but Kyalami it is then.
Kyalami, Kilami, Salami, whatever you
Salami.
want to call it. I've heard it called many different things. But yeah, Kyalami is the way that we would say it locally. And even the way that I say it's probably different to how some other people here would say it. We've got so many different flavors that if you say Kyalami over here, they would still understand what you're saying, to be honest. I do want to test you guys. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the final corner 16. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the pronunciation of that one. I did say I wanted you guys to do some Afrikaans things. This is an Afrikaans. This is another one of our 11 national languages in South Africa. But I would be keen to see what you would make of corner 16.
I have to look that up because I don't know it how it's called. So let me quickly Google that up.
Yeah, let's let you pull that up for now. So corner 16 and corner 10. I'm gonna teach you guys a little bit here.
So
anybody who's ever watched me stream locally here in South Africa will know that I'm terrible at the Afrikaans side of things. So I will try my best with the Afrikaans side as well.
So as I already know a bit of that Afrikaans is probably close to German in a way, I would guess that corner 16 is called or pronounced Ingwe.
Yeah, there we go. Ingwe,
okay.
Ingwe, and then corner 10.
Corner 10 looks a bit like a Dutch name for me, so I would say it's Leeuwkop.
Leeuwkop.
So, okay.
Yeah, Lion's Head, and Dutch and Afrikaans are very similar languages, so that's where it comes out from the familiarity.
I see.
And then corner 5, that's named Barbecue, which in South Africa people would be like, barbecue, we don't say barbecue here, we say braai. But Barbecue is actually named after an area that's just above where that corner is located called Barbecue Downs. So that's where corner 5's name comes from. But it's quite ironic that there would be a corner name on a South African track called Barbecue, with a community here that is so famous for their braais, as they would call it, and that's Braai. A little bit of local flavor for you guys.
Yeah, very interesting here. A little bit of South African language lessons here from George.
It would, like I said, it would surprise a lot of people to have any kind of language lessons from me. But I'm glad that I can attempt and kind of give a little bit of insights. It's always a proud moment for us seeing this track being in a game like ACC, seeing it featured here. Obviously, getting the 9-hour over here was a big thing for our country to have. And yeah, what a great place to have your finale for the RLM Porsche Cup Series.
Yeah, really. And now that we kept Ryan silent for a bit, maybe we want to have him back here again. So Ryan, what does the qualifying currently look like?
Well, I can tell you that looking at the qualifying so far, Tariq Gamil is powering his way through. He is the one leading the times at the moment, but only by about 0.5 of a second to Alessandro Porta. But someone else who's come as a bit of a shock surprise tonight, Christian Bianchi. He's about 0.4 off pole at the moment, but he's looking quite good so far.
Yeah, and Vicky just typing in the chat, I'm interested what Jardia is going to do. Well, in case you didn't know already, Vicky, Jardia, at least he advertised that on his stream, he will start from the back of the grid. I mean, he hasn't posted a lap time yet, so I guess that is the plan for today's race for him.
Always interesting to see drivers with skill and talent do things like that. I enjoy watching those. It's always nice for their viewers to see. And for us, it should give us a nice little bit of action to keep sort of track of in our stream. We know he's a very fast driver, very talented driver in whatever sim he comes into and whatever car class he seems to be thrown into. So really going to be interested to see what Jardia can do from the back of the grid while we watch Vasiliev go through sunset before coming round into Clubhouse. That little section of corners, such a balance of weight required in these Porsche Cup cars. And, you know, if you slow down too much, you'll lose a lot of speed on your lap time. And these S's as well, where Vasiliev is going through now before he makes the run up to Liukorp. Again, just a section of the track that you want to carry as much speed as you can. A blind corner up to Liukorp before a big double left-hander, and then heading down to Mineshaft again. Just carrying a lot of speed is the aim of the game. And in these Porsche Cup cars, you do get a lot of top end. It's all about slowing it down and keeping it stable before coming through the Crocodiles and Cheetah. And like you see, that rear end of the Porsche wants to come out, wants to play, but stability for Vasiliev looking good here. Doesn't take the inside curb at Cheetah, coming down to Ingwe. Final corner again, quite deceiving in how you take the apex there. And Vasiliev currently P19, 5 seconds, or 0.5 second up on his lap time, will jump up into 14th place. So brilliant lap coming out from Vasiliev there.
Yeah, definitely a good lap from Anton Vasiliev. And someone else just to focus on now, coming towards the end of his lap, going quite wide, was Stefan Miller. He's about 0.9 of a second up on his lap, but considering he's just come into the pit lane, I would hazard a guess that he invalidated his lap going wide. So that's a shame, because that would have definitely put Stefan Miller up the order a bit more. I think he's currently down in 25th. So improving by at least a second definitely would have gained him a place. But someone who is up on their lap time at the moment is Jose Llamas. He's up by almost 0.5 second as he comes to the line. And he is going to gain 0.6 to put him up to 18th right now.
And we also see Christian Bianchi in 3rd position, having an improvement for his lap, and that is now 0.2. And when he puts that over the lap or over the white line, then he can even be first after his lap. So let's see where he will go at. Still around, if I'm not mistaken, around half the lap to go. He actually just started it. And now he currently has around a 10th or 2/10ths in his bag. But it seems like that he lost everything now, but he also has a little bit of traffic which hinders him, you see, into Loikop. Still trying to learn that name. But
No, you're
yeah,
close there. You're close there.
but this corner is probably the hardest one if you're driving Kyalami for the first one, the first time, because it's like George already said, it's blind, and you don't think that you can brake that late, but you can brake pretty late there. So you're always frightened because you never see where you brake. Just probably a bit like lately the AMS2, so Automobilista 2 beta came out, and I tried their interpretation of the RB6, the Red Bull 6 of 2010, the Formula 1 car that won the championship there, and you basically can't see anything there, especially if you drive around Bathurst, sorry. So it's very interesting to drive a corner blindly, because then you have to rely more on your force feedback and your feelings and your memory, which is always difficult, especially if you're not used to it.
Yeah, you're almost turning in at the top there without having even seen the top of the corner just yet. Like you said, by instinct and feel, and definitely a corner that can catch a couple people out here today. Like I mentioned, though, I think overall the entire track is going to be a bit of a handful and make for some great overtaking opportunities. Like I said, a lot of places rely on carrying speed, and making any kind of mistake in those kind of corners, it's just going to open up the opportunity for people to make a move. The start-finish straight is nice and long. T1, the kink, is pretty much just a separator down the straight before they come up to T2. So a lot of opportunities for guys to get side by side, make use of the slipstream. And with 13 minutes left to go, Gamel still holding off that first position, Porter second, Borodai third. Currently following along Bianchi, who invalidates his lap. Looked like he was up on his lap time as well. So it looks like Bianchi trying to find as much time as possible and potentially overdriving the car a little bit, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. I've been watching for the last couple of laps now. He's been getting, between 2 and 3 tenths up on his laps, but he keeps invalidating them. And that kind of just shows how much he's pushing for this. And I think he's definitely got the pace to take that pole position off of Tarek Gamil, as Tarek Gamil does just go slightly quicker. He is now on a 1:43.0, so close to breaking into the 1:42s. It's definitely possible around here. It's going to be difficult, but I would have to say if there's any one man around here that could do it, it's got to be Christian Bianchi at the moment, as he's 3 tenths up on a lap right now, and he needs to make sure he doesn't invalidate it this time.
I mean, that's the same kind of picture that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 laps from him, and he pulls over. So probably another invalidation, or he has seen some traffic in front of him, which hindered his lap time. So yeah, he still has 11 minutes, which should be enough for around 4 laps if he does one stint. But he needs to get his lap time down now if he wants to get on pole, because otherwise he will probably be too much under pressure in the last 5 minutes. And then more errors will come, more mistakes will be there, because he's much more under pressure than now. But he definitely has the potential to get in pole position today. And now we have a look at Dustin West, who is kind of a new guy in this championship. He's known to us RLM motorsport guys for, did I just say RLM, Redline Motorsport? But he's known to us at RLM here. Together with his brother, he, for example, competed already at a few endurance events, and now at Monza, he also joined our Porsche Cup Championship, where he took the 10th position.
You're going to see that typical liftoff oversteer nature of the Porsche come into play through the end of T2 there at Crowthorne. As we follow along, Hurst, is he up on his time as well? Yes, he is. 1.1 seconds up on his time. 26th place at the moment. Going to jump himself up to... Where's he gone to? Did he invalidate it there, Ryan? 25th. Sorry, my updates, my broadcasting app hasn't even updated those times. I need to just reconnect here.
Yeah, it seems to be always the start of the second sector where he throws away his very good delta times. But actually, in the first sector, he always improves lap after lap. But he still has to pull it off. He still has to pull a whole lap off to count his lap and to get in front, because now he already lost a few positions. I think with his last lap, he now gained another position again back, which puts him on 5th position. But that can't be his goal with such a huge potential he has shown today.
I mean, when you're 6/10ths up on your lap time, threatening to go into the 142s, and you currently hold down 5th place, you'll be kicking yourself. Of course, Bianchi going to be pushing things as hard as he can here at Kyalami to try and get things done in the last 7 minutes. Needs to maybe just do, you know, one or 2 minutes just sitting in the pits, regather his thoughts, and take things back out. I think after this attempt, if it's not going to come right, he really needs to have a little think about things, because he really does seem to have the pace here and an advantage. Right now, not up on his current lap time, dead on even. As he goes up towards Leocorp, he will find 2/10. So obviously, finding things in that braking zone and then getting a little more time as he comes down towards Mineshaft. Now he stays with 2/10. So at the moment, he could improve on his current starting place. Definitely not where he wants to be, but if he munches in slowly, a bit at a time, Bianchi, with 6 minutes to go, could find himself a lot higher on the starting grid.
Yeah, this finally seems to be a clean lap from him. Oh, he gains a lot in the last corner. Oh, but has he overshot it? But it still counts. It still counts. 4/10ths up now. And that should put him around the 1st position. Just a tiny margin in front of Tariq Emil, but that was enough for him. And that is a big relief now for him. Finally, after several attempts, after throwing it away in the 2nd sector, he finally made it. And that must feel really great behind the cockpit.
when he also knows that he's got a little bit more in him, he can secure that by more than 200s on Gamil there. So I think that he's going to stick out, stay with it. Looks like he's going to stay up on his delta time. Maybe a bit of traffic going to impede his way on this lap. Suridi is getting blue flagged. Oh, they are going to make
and
contact.
there
And
is
yeah,
a crash.
Bianchi trying to send it on the inside. Suridi in the way there. And that's going to be sending Bianchi back to the pits. He will currently hold it down first. Camille is out on track. Currently not up on his lap time, but those two will be shooting it out for this for the starting number 1 spot.
Yeah, the only one he is currently up on his lap time is the one driver that we are looking at, Marco Veronesi. 3/10 for him. Well, that's fluctuating a bit. Now he has no time in his delta. So let's see, maybe there is still some time for him in the last corner. We've seen in Bianchi's time there that there was a lot of time to be gained in the last corner, but it doesn't look like that there is much for Veronesi here. He gained a bit, but not enough to jump a position.
Yeah, I think he definitely lost as he just goes spinning into the wall. I think he lost a lot of time behind Daniele Flores, who was in front of him. So I think maybe lost some time in traffic. That would be a shame for Veronesi, who knows that he has at least half a second left in his lap. But yeah, looking at the timetables at the moment, Jardier sticking to his word at starting firmly at the back. No time set at the moment, so that is going to be interesting come the race. If anyone is thinking to themselves, well, maybe we should start putting bets on where Jardier will finish, leave your opinion down below where you think he'll finish, and maybe we can revisit them come the end of the race.
I say that he will come into the top 10, top 5. Sorry, top 5.
Yeah, I was gonna go. I wanted to call 4th place. I wanted to be a little bit of the hype beast, but Fabian stole my thunder.
Sorry, George.
I wanted to be the fanboy. Damn it. Fine. It will be 8th from me in South Africa.
Well, I think it's only fair then if I give my 2 cents, although I'll probably curse him in the process, and Jardier probably won't finish the race at all. But no, I'll say that Jardier's got a good shot at being in the top 10 here today. But I think I'm going to go lucky number 7 for Jardier, and I think he'll probably achieve. I don't think it'll be easy for Jardier. Definitely working his way from the back.
You just leave me to be the person that predicted he finished like the worst placement. Like everybody else has predicted he finishes in front of where I predicted. I don't feel that that's nice, Ryan.
Well, I was going to go 5th, but Fabian stole it first, so I think...
I'm sorry!
I think we've all had to settle for second best here, George, so don't worry too much. As I've just seen Alexander Paulik lose it coming through Cheetah and go into the wall, and he's going to come back into the pit lane.
Yeah, that really is a nasty corner. I'm going to say that now. I'm going to say that multiple times. It is going to catch people off that sausage curb. What starts to happen, right, is people try and clip the apex. So you try and put your wheel on that inside line. And what happens is the tire wear and tire marks sort of wear onto that yellow sausage curbing. And you can just see how misleading it becomes when you come into it. So you start to misjudge where your turn-in points can be, and it can just send you flying unannounced.
Yeah, and Bianchi seems to have found his rhythm. 4/10 up on his time, 42.6 his new lap time, and he's also the only driver in the 42s. So yeah, he really seems to have found his rhythm, his pace now, and it will be pretty interesting if he can continue this run in the race, because
I mean that's a very respectable. Sorry to cut you off, Fabian. That's a very respectable time to be going around Kyalami in a GT3 car, and Bianchi picking up the cup car and doing stuff like that's just filthy. I would use the term disgusting.
Yeah, and some people discussing in the chat, like Chris Höke, was saying that that Bianchi is only around 2 to 3 seconds slower than the regular Porsche GT3 car, which is crazy because usually we are used to a gap of around 4 to 5 seconds, I think, between GT3 and Porsche Cup cars. And now Bianchi is trying to drift there.
I was watching that. I couldn't believe it.
Maybe he got a bit bored now. But as Ryan is looking at Matthias right now, I guess he is up on his lap time a bit.
Yeah, he was up by about 0.3 of a second. He's lost it a bit coming through the last corner, but he will go 7th fastest. He will improve his time as qualifying is now coming to an end. And looking at how things are progressing at the moment, Tarek Gamel is up on his lap time by only 0.1 of a second. He's going to need a lot more than that if he wants to take pole position off of Christian Bianchi. He comes through the final corner, 0.2 up at the moment. And that's not going to be enough, and it isn't, but it does put him into the 142s for qualifying.
Car number 420 just improved his lap time, which is Daniele Flores. And I'm a little bit disappointed with Daniele Flores, to be fair. Just in P14, but he is in P2 in the championship. That's not the position that he usually should be. But, well, maybe it's the race where he will shine.
I was going to say also, you know, Kyalami is one of those tracks that not a lot of drivers have played, perhaps, and got used to. So if they didn't put in time and effort beforehand, there's just so much time to be found here. And sure, you can drive around it. I think anyone can drive around any circuit, but it really comes down to finding those niche little seconds, as it is. I mean, first to 24th place is only separated by 3.2 seconds in Porsche Cup cars, which is just, to me, incredibly talented. They aren't easy to drive, and I think that must be reinforced to the viewers all the time. It's just how difficult these things are to drive, and looking forward to a interesting and fun race here. I mean, RLM racing standards always apply. The guys know how strict and serious things are. And I'm hoping that we get a beautiful send-off for the finale of the Porsche Cup here.
So as we have the countdown timer counting down, I'm going to quickly switch over to the Kyalami track guide, sorry, that we have here for today, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome to the Kyalami racing circuit, located 15 miles north of Johannesburg. The 2.81 mile circuit, built in 1961 and last changed in 2016, has 16 corners and a lap record of 142.272 set by Porsche in 2019. Overtaking opportunities wherever you look here. The first is into turn 2, as the long start finish straight will give you a great run onto those ahead of you. Overtaking is plentiful, but watch out at turn 10, get your braking wrong and you could be going into the back of your opponents instead. And finally, down through the mine shaft and into the crocodiles will give you a nice opportunity to pass your opponent with little reply. Alright then, so I hope you all enjoyed that little track guide of Kyalami. If you didn't know any of the little facts shared there about the circuit, I hope you have learnt something new today. But with just over 2 minutes left on the session clock before we get away for the formation lap, Fabian, would you like to run us through the grid?
Yeah, sure. So we see a very, very rapid Christian Bianchi in front today, and just in his shadow, Tarek Gamil, just around 2 tenths behind him. So maybe we will see a very interesting fight between those two for this race. P3, Alessandro Porta, our championship leader. So he is where he should be. If he stays there, everything is set for him. Then in P4, Alexander Borodai, another very good qualifying position for him. Let's see how he can do in the race. Then Alexander Paulik in P5. I guess that's a new driver. I can't recognize the name, but he is next to a known guy, Maxim Yefanov, in P6 in the third row. Then Jan Matthias in P7, who is, I think, also a new driver. And he is joined by David Doe in P8, who already has a few races in this Porsche Cup season. Then Nico Kramer with a very beautiful livery in P9, and Dustin West rounds off the top 10. Then the first one outside the top 10, another racing line boy, Giacomo Proietti, who was the shining boy in the first 3 races. Sadly, his performance dropped a bit, but let's see how he does today. Then Andreassen's Garage in P12, Giorgio Raimondi P13, another racing liner, and Daniele Flores next to him. That should be a very interesting battle between both of them, because we already seen quite some heated battles between racing liners. Then the Spaniard Jose Llamas in P15 and Anton Vasiljev P16 next to him. Antonio Cereri in P17, another Italian, and Steven Wust is next to him. Then Hannes Robert, P19, and P20, Tommy Pintus. And in the first one outside the top 20, Marco Veronesi, 21, and Merlik Zelikomatsu, P22. 23, Christian Lindgren, P24, William Mazzolini, as we just see the camera of Ryan going crazy. But I just go through the list there. Well, it's not the Porsche Cup Championship for us if there isn't any technical difficulties. Dixon Hurst, P25, Stefan Miller, P26. Very disappointing result for him because he is in P4 in the championship. Then Sven Ludwig, P27, and Jaroslav Honsik, our very special guest today, P28. And if you are interested in watching this race from his perspective, I'm losing my words. Go check out his YouTube channel because he usually streams them, and you can then see perfectly how he will challenge, or how he will find this challenge of going from last, so P28, to first today. Maybe he will get that. Maybe he can achieve that, but let's see how far he can go.
Yeah, I just want to say in there, thank you for the F7 camera for defaulting to camera follow, even after telling it not to. But apart from that, thank you, Fabian, for running down the grid. So, I asked you earlier today, Fabian, who you had down for the win. Are you going to stick with who you mentioned earlier, or are you going to change it up a bit?
I said Tarek Gamil earlier. He is in a strong P2. Bianchi was very fast in the qualifying, but we've seen some struggles with him. Sometimes he couldn't get his lap times. Just in the last few minutes, in the last 5 minutes, he was in the right rhythm. It depends if he can stay in that rhythm or if he overdrives the car. That's I think the main point for this race today. And we see Bianchi drifting to warm up his tires. That's not very usual. That's not a very usual sight. But yeah, George, what do you think? Who is your driver? Who will be your driver of the day today?
I was gonna go with Jardier until I saw Bianchi drifting through Leocorp, and Bianchi has now taken that spot away. I am from a drifting background. That's how I got into sim racing. So Bianchi's tire warming technique, although not traditional and generally frowned upon by the grip racing guys, are just aesthetically beautiful to watch. So Bianchi's taken my number 1 spot. But in all seriousness, I'd like to see what Jardier does and makes his way through the field. I haven't been around for enough of the series really to get to know the drivers like you guys have. So everything I do will be picked off of bias in qualifying times, and maybe a little bit of bias in some color choices in cars. I think Yevanov's Porsche looks beautiful, so anything bright and beautiful, I might just change up and choose that. So Ryan, we are getting ready to go through the final corner before everybody gets away here.
Yep, they are lining up side by side, double file. We have 28 cars here for the final race of the Porsche Cup Season 2. And as the lights go out, they head down towards the first corner, known as the Kink. It's going to be Bianchi on the outside line. Tarek Gamil's going to have the inside line. Coming into turn 2, Bianchi's going to push Tarek Gamil close to the inside curb. This is going to give Bianchi a poor exit going through turn 3, and Tarek Gamil is going to take the lead coming into turn 4. And not sure what's going on at the back of the grid, but there seems to be 5 wide going into one of the corners much further back there.
I'm just having a look at the back because I wanted to see if there were any incidents, but wow, that was clean, I can say you. I almost wanted to swear there, wanted to say the F word because it was so clean. I haven't seen anything there. Maybe 1 or 2 cars going off track, but no incidents whatsoever. That's crazy.
Absolutely nothing wrong there with the back of the grid. We're still watching the battle for what was first and second there, and now suddenly becomes second and third as Borodai has a look on the outside of Bianchi, but Bianchi secures his exit and will run down to Mineshaft in second to chase on Tarek Gamil. Meanwhile, Borodai, he's now got Porter to defend against before they come down to the Crocodiles, as Doe, he's there too. And a little bunch of Porsche cars all forming up before they get through to Cheetah is always going to be interesting. Borodai will lead things away. Porter behind in 4th place, Doe in 5th. And what a great start to the race. Everybody getting away cleanly as they get through Engwe and begin their run down to the line to start their second lap. So Gamil leads Bianchi, Borodai in 3rd, Porter 4th, Doe 5th, Yevanov, Doe 5th, Yevanov 6th.
Yeah, maybe I was too quickly to say how clean that first lap was. I've just seen 5 cars after Loikop corner having a spin. But other than that, it was pretty clean.
Yeah, of course, all the incidents that may have a responsible party will be investigated after the race. But looking at this now, Christian Bianchi didn't really get off to the greatest of starts, did he? Got compromised being on the outside line, and Tarek Gamil took full advantage of that. And Christian Bianchi almost losing a place out to Alexander Borodai, who in turn almost lost his place to Porter once Bianchi had defended his position. The two at the front starting to make a bit of a gap to those behind. And I don't think it'll be too long before we start to see the grid space out a bit, as I think the leading pack of the top 10 have already cleared off from the rest.
And I fear, but I have to say that maybe we cursed Jardi's race, because he was one of the 5 cars that got caught up in the crash. So he's sitting in the pit lane now, repairing his car that is majorly damaged. I don't know if he will continue the race, but he will probably have to repair his car around 1 or 2 minutes, so he will at least lose a lap or maybe even 2. So maybe we have cursed him there a bit too much.
It's unfortunate to see, of course. He was obviously looking forward to starting at the back of the grid and then seeing how far he could make his way up the field, but unfortunately caught up in an incident perhaps, or maybe a mistake, not too sure. We'll have to find out post-race, I believe, but looking at the times here, Christian Bianchi pulling away with Tarek Gamil, so it's going to be another couple of laps until we really find out if Bianchi can stay with Gamil consistently. But at the moment, the two of them looking quite strong.
I don't want to cut you off, but can you go to the battle between Roberts and Raimundi, battle of P14 and 15? These two have been going side by side from the start of the barbecue turn and have been exchanging paint. And I think that that is Vasilyev also trying to get involved on these three as well. So literally a car length part to the start of the lap. Looks like Roberts extended things just a little bit out on Raimundi here. And Vasilyev, he's also got a sort of car's length apart there. So may have called that one at just the wrong time, Ryan. They were side by side, and then...
Oh! Sorry to cut you off. There was something with Alessandro Porta and Alexander Borodai. They battled for the entire lap. But now they touched, and they lost a few positions because of that.
Yeah, definitely. Alexander Borodai and Alessandro Porta well down the order now. Alexander Borodai has damage of some sort on the right side of his car. He was also very, very loose going through the final corner. Down in 9th and 10th now, those two. So that has given David Doe a shot at a podium place very early on in the race.
And someone asking in the chat if there is any chance of rain, so maybe George, have a look out your window. Can you see any rain clouds?
We've had rain the whole week. Today was the first dry day, sunny as ever. I did the washing and hung it up, so I'm afraid it's going to be a sunny race here at Kyalami.
So there you have it, Matteo. Probably no wet race. Well, that was obviously not too serious, but we really don't expect any rain today. Look how sunny it is today. And 30 degrees track temperature, 23 degrees ambient temperature. So I guess we won't see any rain today.
Yeah, just focusing on the train of cars here from Alexander Paulik all the way down to Alessandro Porta. Big chain of cars here in a battle for 4th to 9th place. And Maxim Yefanov, who we've already seen plenty of times this season, is very quick here in the Porsche Cup, looking to make places.
And we do know that these Porsche Cup cars are handling at their best at this phase of the race when they've got fuel in them and they've got their fresh set of tires. So as things go down, I mean, we do have a mandatory pit stop. Is that correct, Ryan?
Yes, it is. It is one mandatory stop. There are no requirements for the stop itself. You can take fuel or tires or both. It's completely up to you. And as I was just saying that, I've just seen Jaroslav Honzik, also known as Jardia, unlapping himself from William Mazzolini.
Yeah, and he is one of the 3 drivers that have obviously already done their pit stops because, well, they've been part of a crash, so they had to repair their car. So maybe that will be an advantage later on in the race, but obviously now he will be around the lap or a lap and a half behind the pack. So let's see if our predictions will go right, but I fear that this crash maybe destroyed our predictions.
I mean, if his drive does come out to be anywhere near where our predictions came out, Johnny will have had a massive drive to come out and lap himself and finish within the top 10. So all the pressure on Jardia there as put on by the casters here at RLM. No pressure and no commentators' curses as always. We're looking at Prietti trying to hold off on Mateus as they come up to Cheetah once again. And this corner can catch drivers off guard. Porter, he is trying to defend against Kramer behind, and Borodai is trying to hang on to any sorts of scraps that he can get out of the battle unfolding up ahead. Of course, we mention this, or I mention this whenever I cast here, but whenever you see battle on track, you are trying to get as close as you can to that, because you know that the drivers in front are trying to defend and compromising a racing line and giving yourself more of an advantage coming down the run there. So Porter here, as they go through the Yuxke sweep, before taking barbecue, looking very, very comfortable in that Porsche, does Porter. Not an easy section of corners to take at pace, and does seem to put an extra car's length between him and Kramer before they go through sunset.
And yeah, we see currently Alessandro Porta in P8. Even a position as low as P8 is still not enough for the other cars, Flores and Proietti, to have a chance at the championship, because Porta has a lead of 16 points. So Flores would need to be 16 positions in front of Porta to attack his championship position. But that is not the case, as Flores is actually in P21. So currently it looks like a very disappointing race for him.
Yeah, and I was just watching the battle between Wust and Madzo, and Wust getting past Celica Madzo, slight tap as they were going through at the top of the hill. And now Celica Madzo has Giorgio Raimondi right behind him. So he's going to have to watch his back. Of course, we know how quick some of the racing line drivers are here, but he actually has the 111 of Hannes Robert right behind him. And actually, no, as I say that, the numbers have gone a bit wrong. It's Anton Vasilyev, actually, who's right behind him. And Giorgio Raimondi is going to have to be careful. Of course, we've seen Vasilyev in and out of the championship this year. He's a very quick driver as well, so nice battle developing here. It's all quiet up front at the moment, as Tarek Gamil has a 1.3 second gap on Christian Bianchi.
Yeah, and we can already see Vasilyev's hood flapping up and down. He seems to have a bit of damage, but he is rapidly quick. He was 1.6 seconds faster than Giorgio Raimondi in front of him. So this is going to shape up like a very interesting 3-way fight for P13. But I think Vasilyev doesn't want to stay behind them for too long. So I think we don't have to wait for that long until they are trying to go for an overtake. That was already pretty close. But yeah, it's basically the best position that Vasilyev currently has, because he just has to wait until Raimondi maybe is a bit too cheeky. Oh yeah, there is Raimondi's move, dive bomb on, they touched! They've touched, so that means, just like I predicted, Vasilyev's going through without any effort. But that also means that Madzo will lose a few more places, because all of the drivers behind them are very close.
Oh, Madzo lost out big time there to that whole train of cars that got through. I know that Jadia got through. I mean, everybody got through there. And Madzo coming down to the Crocodiles, leaving things very open. I mean, Raimondi, I wouldn't even call it really a dive there. He just braked later, went for the inside line, and Madzo then turned in quite late. So to me, it was an interesting bit of driving. I think the inside line was always going to be a bit of a risk, but Madzo lost out quite heavily there, and a lot of work for him now to do as we see him trailing down behind Robert there. Hannes Roberts holding down 16th place, so Madzo dropping down to 13th. Up in front of him, a bunch of cars, of course. Opportunities will always be there. And down in front of him, I mean, Raimondi, where does he find himself? In 14th place. And while he holds things down there, he's just got a whole bunch of cars. He's got Jardier right up behind him. He's got Yamas about 2 cars lengths behind as they come to the top of Leeuwkop. Definitely a corner that you can make up a lot of time on and get a good run and an exit down. All the cars here pretty much choosing the same line out and trying to use some slipstream. That will be Jardier trying to unlap himself from more cars staying in there. And Wust getting very, very slow and wide. And up the inside goes Jardier, gets on past Raimondi, tucks in behind Vasilyev's. Yamas is there as well through the Crocodile. Drivers keeping things nice and clean before coming down to Ingwe. What a bit of driving from these Porsche Cup drivers at Kyalami. Not an easy bit of track to do things like that. Definitely not easy in the Cup cars, and everybody giving themselves respect coming out of there. A beautiful bit of driving.
Impressive, or how Honorati in the chat is typing, impressionante. That's very impressionante, because just we have a whole screen of cars fighting with each other. How amazing is that? And it isn't stopping there at all. I mean, a cheeky Jardia Honsik trying to unlap himself, which maybe has caused a bit of chaos behind him and in front of him. But the battles are still going on, and that is just amazing. I mean, the battles behind P12, they are very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we're still following along with Yamas here as he tries to... Is he trying to
defend?
Sorry, it's Roberts trying to take the place on Yamas. Yamas seems to have that white Porsche closing down into his rearview mirror. We switch over to following on to Wust here. Wust, of course, was the sort of cork in this bottle earlier on before Jardia got past. Jardia up in front now will lead things away, and he's got himself nice and clean out of the battle. So Wust will be followed by Vasiliev, followed by Raimundi, followed by Yamas. So a nice little train forming up once again, getting ready to do some battle in the next couple of laps. Everybody kind of a couple of cars lengths away. That can all change up with a little mistake. But for now, there are definite fights brewing out, and everybody doing a great job just keeping these cars on the circuit at a competitive lap time. I mean, our leaders are doing 143.7s and 143.2s as their best times. So really, really flying here at Kyalami in the Cup cars.
And I mean, the camera will stay at this amazing battle, but just to give you an update how it looks at the front, Tarek Amil still in first position, 2.2 seconds in front of Christian Bianchi. Then there is a big gap to Alexander Pawlik. So I think P3 was someone else before. That was David Doe. What has happened to David Doe? He was P3 before, but that is Alexander Pawlik now. So Maxim Yefanov then P4 and Porter in P5. Then Giacomo Proietti P6, Nico Kremer P7, Alexander Borodai P8, Jan Matias P9, and Dustin Wust P10. Then outside the top 10, David Doe, there is Stephen Wust, Anton Vasiliev, Giorgio Raimondi, Jose Yamas, Hannes Robert. These are all the guys that we've seen battling in the last few minutes. Then P17, Seliko Matsu, who lost out a lot of time because of overtake from, who was it again? Giorgio Raimondi, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, then P18, Marco Veronesi, P19, Christian Lindgren, P20, William Mazzolini, Flores, Pintos, Stefan Miller, Sven Ludwig, Dixon Hurst, Honsik, and Ceredi. This is our current order of this Kyalami race, our final race of this season. And what a race it is. I mean, usually we needed to wait until 20 minutes before the end of the race to get an epic and crazy race. But we've had this now for already 20 minutes. So I'm very interested in how this shapes out to be in the future 40 minutes.
Fabian, you're 100% right, and we continue to watch Vasiliev try and bully past Wust here, who looks like he's struggling a little bit more in his Porsche with getting that traction down. He seems to be kicking out the back end quite often around. Vasiliev gets a lot of curb on the exit there. He's got Raimundi right behind him. Does not want to make a mistake coming through the S's now. Needs to make sure he gets a good exit so they can climb up the hill and stay competitive for the exit. Of course, Raimundi running wide. That's going to open up the opportunity for Yamas if he closes down the gap a little bit more. And like we've said, these cars just lapping within a couple car lengths of each other, time and time again, lap after lap, just waiting for a mistake to be made. And, you know, tip of the hat to Wust. He does not seem to be the fastest of these drivers, but seems to be putting his car in the right place and stopping anybody from getting past. And right now, he looks like he's not even having to park the car anywhere. Vasilyev looked like he had the pace to get the move done earlier, was passing Yamas and Raimundi almost, with ease when he needed to. But now, behind Vust, hasn't had a passing opportunity in the last lap, and that gap continues to extend out. Yamas and Raimundi now going to be the battle to watch. Yamas looking like he wants to commit to the inside line there. Raimundi, no, it was just a little trick of the camera angle as Yamas slots back in behind Raimundi in the background there. Yamas trying to find a way past. Vasilyev still the main camera on focus at the moment, but for the moment, things do not change. First leads on Vasilyev, and Raimundi and Yamas continue behind them.
And I mean, how good of a base is Assetto Corsa Competizione for these races? We've seen plenty of good races so far, but it looks like that this will be the most epic one of all these. We still got 40 minutes left, so that's just how good this race is currently.
Yamas has tried to make more moves on Raimundi every time he puts one of those Porsche tires into the track outside the track limits, but unfortunately still not managing to get past. And that's one of the beautiful things about this same series racing, where everybody's in the same car and it comes down to the driver and the habits. And these cup cars are definitely a certain driving style requirement, and if you don't have it, you got to teach yourself how to drive them. Not always the easiest thing to find the most time in either, and all of these drivers so far just doing a great job. I'm going to reinforce that because these cup car series are difficult. The viewers need to understand that, and every driver here deserves a pat on the back for piloting these widowmakers around at such ease, or they do it with steez. It's just beautiful and clean, and I think there's more descriptive words that I could use, but I've kind of run out of things to say about them. I love them. Porsches are my thing.
Well, we're switching over to the battle for 6th place at the moment between Giacomo Peretti, Nico Kramer and Alexander Borodai. Of course, Alexander Borodai and Alessandro Porto were kind of caught up in something earlier on in the race. That meant that they both lost places. Borodai now trying to get past Nico Kramer in that very appealing livery, as a lot of people have described it here today. Not quite my taste, but definitely something different to what we have on the norm here on the grid.
Oh, Kramer going to go very wide. Borodai going to be able to capitalize on that in an easy place take before any of the danger corners going to be done for Borodai there. And Mateus, he's now going to be in contention to have a little look-see onto Kramer. Kramer probably picking up a little bit of dirt on those tires when he was fishtailing it out there, and picking up some extra heat. Mateus wants to get involved. Obviously, every position you can take will improve your position. We're going to continue looking down the order. Here we'll watch Raimundi again in 14th, holding off Yamas in 15th. Once again, these guys just seem to have a different part of the circuit that they each like, whether it's sector 1, 2, or 3. And every now and then they close up that gap, but coming down again to the end of T2, Raimundi comfortably away from any moves that Yamas would be able to potentially throw his way.
And only around 6 minutes until we see the halfway of this race. I wonder when the guys will start to go into the pits. Usually the first drivers will go in the pits at the 30-minute mark, but the leaders stay out as long as possible around to the 45-minute mark. Then we probably will see the leaders in the pits, because they try to stay out as long as possible to not get into the traffic, which obviously hinders the lap times and also the ability to defend themselves from other drivers behind them.
And Nico Kramer at the moment under attack from Jan Matthias. He had to go defensive into the final corner. Jan Matthias going to drop back ever so slightly as we come down into turn 2. There is a few different cars all over the place at the moment, very close together. No one making any solid moves at the moment, but another battle that is quite close is Maxim Yefanov and Alessandro Porta, as you can see here, battling for P4.
Yeah, they're going to go through Clubhouse. Yevanov will stay ahead of Porter before they come up to the S's. And of course, another section of the track that you just need to maintain that car's stability. You see Yevanov's Porsche just getting kicked up by that inside curb. And that's allowed Porter to close the gap down again before the run up to the hill. Yevanov going to take the inside line, but not as tight and neat as Porter. Porter doing a great job to hang on to the back of Yevanov before they start their descent down. You can just see that car getting slammed down as they come through a mineshaft. Porter running wide, putting it on the dirt, but keeping it on the surface. Going to be forced the long way around. That's going to allow Yevanov an ideal line through the Crocodiles. And Yevanov will be saved from this attack on Porter as he keeps his exit there clean. The final corner before they start their rundown to start their 16th lap. As we see Wust and Doe not on the right part of the circuit. He gets kicked off by Cheetah. We did predict that would happen, and Wust kicking out the car a little bit. Doe, looking very sideways, and I don't know if he put it into the wall. We caught it right at the end. It looks pretty clean, that Porsche. Does not look like it's been scrapped up, but looked like Doe had to save it. He's flashing his lights. He's not happy with something that Wust did in front of him, and continues to flash his lights as we now jump to the battle between Prietti and Borodai. Prietti holding down that 6th place. Borodai in that Lumo centered Porsche behind the what is that? Pink? Was it purple on blue? Purple? Definitely pink. Pink on blue? What's the word?
Definitely pink, I would say, to my eyes, at least. It's one of the unique characteristics of the racing line cars. They all have different accent colours, so you can differentiate them. But as far as we're aware, it's pink for Giacomo Prietti.
Okay, I'm gonna go with pink. It's definitely one of the colors that I do like there. Borodai's. I did say I was gonna pick cars based on colors, and unfortunately we do have two pretty cars here, and it makes it very difficult for me to choose. So the bias of voting for Prietti in this battle will be because he holds down the place, but Borodai going to be hassling him for that place. And we come down to the final part of the circuit, and Prietti looks neat and tidy. Doesn't look like he's going to leave the door open for Borodai to have the move done just yet. Oh, I say that, but Borodai goes deep. Kramer, he's got Mateus also on his tail, and just a battle throughout the placement here. Nico Kramer holding down 8th place over Jan Mateus, who will fight him for that tooth and nail as they come down for the 2nd corner of their 16th lap.
And it's close all around here as Alessandro Porter is still on the back of Maxim Yefanov, but now they have traffic in front. A few people coming into the pit lane early. In fact, actually, the two drivers that they've got in traffic now, Ludwig and Hurst, they're battling for position. They haven't pitted yet, and they are going to move out of the way. Ludwig staying wide to allow Maxim Yefanov and Alessandro Porter through, and just making sure that they don't get in the way of a battle up at the front. That's the last thing they need to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, they just want to let cars through so they can continue with their battles. I mean, Yevanov on the inside, a Porter here. Porter now going to look for a little bit of a cut back. but I don't think he's got the exit there. Ivanov going to hold Porter off there as those back markers that we saw behind continue their battle in the distance. There are still cars trying to move on past them as Porter has gone for a very interesting... Sorry, that's Borodai that's gone very wide on... No, those... Sorry, I lost
Peretti,
track
who's
of,
gone wide.
Yeah, it was Peretti going wide. Borodai was very clean and tidy. But,
Oh, and
cars going off in the
Matthias!
back. Oh,
Matthias
he's
losing
on
his
the-
car.
he's lost it. He needs to get it back on track. Just a horrible place of the circuit to try and get back on. Luckily, no cars coming through. But Matthias, big off. And I think he's going to have to just drive it into the pits. Yes, he is. He's going to take his pit stop now.
So unfortunate there for Jan Matthias. We've seen so many times as well that corner can catch you out. You know, if you cut it just too close and you hit that sausage curb on the inside of Cheetah, it can send you flying into the wall. And that's unfortunately what's happened to Jan Matthias. He's going to have damage to repair on that car. Someone else who has damage on their car, Anton Vasilyev, his hood is a bit propped up, and he is now under pressure from Giorgio Raimondi, who also has Jose Llamas close on his tail.
And he also almost used it to his advantage. Let's see, maybe he dives down the inside. No, he won't. But he is already pretty close. So we will have another three-way battle. Those three-way battles just keep coming at us.
And all the drivers leaving themselves space, leaving things respectful, giving themselves room through the places that they need to, and then closing back down the door where they can to obviously try and make their moves. Now they get down towards the bottom of the mine shaft, or they come down to mine shaft again. So a train of cars. Vasilyev leads on Raimondi, and I'm just waiting for where these tire levels start to give on grips. Ooh, Raimondi, is he going for a little cheeky inside move there? It's not. It's Vasilyev has left things a little bit wide, but a nice change in angle there hasn't cost him much. Raimondi has Llamas right on his tail. Coming down to Ingwe now. Where will Llamas break? Roberts, he's also now joined into the party. He breaks very late on the back of Llamas, and now going to be tucked in nicely behind the slipstream. They'll go down the start-finish straight through T1, the kink. It's hardly a corner, and you can just throw it around before coming down to T2. Ludwig, of course, a lapped car, going to stick it on the outside. Let all the cars come past nice and clean through Yuxke. Raimondi still holds off Llamas. Roberts is a little bit off where he was before. Barbecue will be clean for all three drivers. And like I said before, just beautiful to watch. Great driving coming out around my home circuit.
And the leader of this battle is currently in the pits, Anton Vasilyev. It looks like a longer pit stop. I don't know if he repairs his car. Yes, he repaired his car. Don't know if he also switched his tires. I suppose not, but he lost a lot of time due to repairing his car.
So we'll follow again, or continue following Raimondi. Llamas is right behind him once again as they start their descent. And this camera angle doesn't really give you too much of a feel for some of the elevation change that the drivers go through before they come down to the crocodile here. And just an unstabling part of the track. Again, they need to avoid the sausage curve, or, you know, since it's a South African track, we'd have to call it the Boerewors curve. I don't know if you guys have ever tried a good Boerewors roll, but if you ever come to South Africa, I'll definitely treat you one. Oh, Raimondi, he saves it. He keeps it off the wall. But did you just see that exit oversteer that he got coming out the final corner? I think maybe a little bit of curbing. Might be struggling with tires as well. Giorgio Raimondi almost put it into the pit wall on the start of the 19th lap. Somehow managed not to do so.
Yeah, it's definitely going to bring in some concerns as well, and that's going to benefit Jose Llamas and Robert as well, Hannes Robert, because they were following Raimondi, and they went into the pit lane momentarily before Raimondi had that mistake. So, of course, Raimondi has now lost time to both of those drivers. Obviously, he'll be coming into the pit lane at some point later in the race. It'll be important to keep an eye on where Giorgio Raimondi is after he's done his pit stop, because I would take a guess that Jose Llamas and Hannes Robert have probably gained a significant amount of time on that mistake.
I can give you an update on that, because Llamas probably gained a lot of time. That was a very short stop there from him. But Robert had a long stop, just like, was it again? That we've seen earlier, Anton Vasilyev. They are both now very close together, if I see that right. No, I think Vasilyev is actually in front of Robert, which just shows how long Robert's stop was.
Yevanov has to continue to defend, and Nico Kramer trying to find a way past. Helicopter view will be the way that we will witness the battle ensue. Nico Kramer getting a little bit wide on the exit, touching the grass, which does put a couple of car lengths between them before the next fast right-hander. And all these drivers that we currently looking at from, looks like 10th to 1st, all still to go into the pits. So 23 minutes remain of the race. There's no pit window as such. They can pit when they want. The tires probably screaming murder at this stage. 4:45 in the afternoon. The sun's been cooking. The tires have been working as hard as they can to keep grip levels around the circuit. And all of these drivers now need to just keep that in mind. Of course, you don't want to do a race like this and throw it away because you've misjudged the grip levels that you've got. We still follow on board with Yevanov, or from the helicopter. He's got Nico Kramer just behind him, not currently giving him too much of a problem this final sector. I said that. Looks like Kramer closing down the gap just a little bit, but not enough for it to be a problem just yet. In this final corner, you can see a lot of drivers do have better braking points than others. That time around, Yevanov getting a good exit out. Flores and Wust, they are closing down the gap here. Daniela Flores in that 420 Porsche. He's got
Flores and Llamas, actually.
There's Flores and Llamas. Sorry, my bad. I get confused as soon as we go over to this aerial camera.
Yeah, I know.
Llamas.
But I guess one thing to better remind it probably is because Ryan is having a look at the broadcasting tool, and that always shows the gap to the car behind. So he maybe always chooses the car in front of the other car. So that's maybe a bit of a trick on how to remember which car is probably highlighted there.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. Thanks, Fabian. That's actually true.
But yeah, we see Flores, who had, if I remember correctly, he had a very bad first half of the race, but now he is actually in front of Llamas, which is a surprise because Llamas was around at the edge of top 10, and Flores was around P15 before the stops. So that's very, very surprising for me now. So probably there is still a few points to gain for Flores, who is in P2 in the championship. He will be fighting very, very harshly with Giacomo Proietti, as they are only 2 points apart. So it will be interesting where Proietti will come out. He is
Flores's car is also not looking too healthy in terms of its current state of bodywork. Obviously, a couple of contacts there. Just comparing it to Llamas's car behind. So I'm not sure if he had damage and has elected not to repair that damage, or if that's been sustained possibly after But at the moment, on my side, just looking at things, it looks like he has sustained a little bit of front-end damage.
Yeah, and also his back is a bit dirty, so probably he got a tap there as well.
Yeah, so I mean, those sort of factors could come into play towards the end of the race. Like you said, when you're fighting for the championship in the final race, it all comes down to the line. And if Flores did pick up damage and decided not to repair it, that's a decision worth it. In some instances, you don't want to waste all that time. In others, it could, turn around to bite you and end your race overall later on. So for now, Llamas and Flores will continue their fight. And in terms of pits, it doesn't look like anybody else has gone in our top 10 just yet. They'll continue to lap around as we go just below the 20-minute mark.
And I think definitely worth a mention so far. We haven't really seen him past the opening lap, but Tarek Gamel has been dominating out in front. 8.5 seconds he has to Christian Bianchi. So our theory was correct that Bianchi maybe wouldn't have the pace to stick with Tarek Gamel. But yeah, he's been dominant so far. He has yet to pit. And that is the same for the rest of the top 9, except for Alexander Pollock, who is in the pit lane.
And now that you've jinxed it, Ryan, I just wanted to say that the crazy last 20 minutes of our Porsche Cup races just began. So let's see how crazy those 20 minutes will be. But probably you just jinxed Tarek Gamil's win there. So thanks for that, Ryan, because he's obviously the one that I voted my win for. But yeah, we just have seen, who was it? Paulik in the pits, the first one in the top 10, if I am not wrong. But actually he is now in P10 behind Kramer and Dustin West, who already pitted. So that means that Kramer is now well into the top 10s, and he can probably gain a few more places as well, because he's just 25 seconds behind the car in front of him, which is Doe. And Yefanov isn't that far off either. So if I calculate with a 30 to 40 second pit stop loss, Kramer would probably come to P6 still, so that could be interesting still. Maybe even P5 with Giacomo Proietti, but that is a bit of a stretch probably.
Vasilyev and Roberts are scrapping things out. Vasilyev's been looking a little bit squiggly on the exit of the previous lap, and I think that Roberts has noticed this, started to hassle him out. Vasilyev, of course, holds down position 17. Robert behind is trying to take this position off of Anton Vasilyev, and Robert giving the little outside-inside switcheroo before they go through Clubhouse. Robert settling back behind Vasilyev. They now make their way towards the S's, and Robert wants to make a move somewhere here. He's going all around. Stop-go penalty for Doe in 7th. I've seen that's just popped up as Vasilyev still holds down on Roberts, who just does not seem to be trying to let off at any time. Roberts not quite where he wants to be on the exit of Leocorp, and they make their run down to Mineshaft now, and Vasilyev has done a good job at holding off that aggressive attack from Robert. But this is where the whole attack sort of started on the previous lap. This is where Vasilyev was quite untidy on the exit here. Robert seemed to be okay. Vasilyev getting a little bit wide again, not carrying as much speed. Coming down to Ingwe, Robert again just closes that gap right down. Really, really likes this final exit. Oh, I say that. Robert gets squiggly, compromises his exit, and Vasilyev lives another day.
Yeah, just thought a quick mention. We noticed that Giorgio Raimondi was in front of Jose Llamas and Hannes Robert before he came into the pit lane. Fabian did mention that Jose Llamas had quite quick stop and that Robert had a longer stop. Well, I can now tell you Giorgio Raimondi has pitted and he's come out behind both of them. In fact, he's down in 20th place. So Giorgio Raimondi not benefiting after the pit stops.
And Yefanov now in the pits, so the last of the top 5 are still remaining. But maybe Yefanov just started a chain reaction there with other cars in front of him that don't want to get undercutted from him.
Fabian, sorry, I was getting too excited again, but I mean, Vasiliev is just making so many little mistakes, I would say, you know, just putting the car in weird places on the track, upsetting the car just a tiny bit, letting Robert get even closer in. Veronese, he's also just a couple of cars length ahead of these two, but while Vasiliev puts the car in these dangerous places, it's only a matter of time before something like that goes wrong and Robert makes that move. So Robert doing a good job to put the pressure on Vasiliev. Veronese is going very, very slow here, as in the last couple of corners, these two have caught right up to him, and Veronese with a slow exit out Engwe, and right behind will be Vasiliev in the slipstream. Robert hasn't had a great exit, which is surprising because he's had great sector threes coming into here. Doe coming out of the pits after serving, I think, his stop-go penalty. So he's dropped back down the order quite heavily. Robert going to go round the outside of Doe. And very, very nicely done by all of these drivers. Veronese and Vasiliev going to be going into that little fight now. Vasiliev going to get the move done on the inside, or on the inside of Veronese. He's just going very slow. He's lost out to Doe as well. Roberts, he wants to have the move done on the outside of Sunset. And Veronese, he's gone very sideways. He's put it off. And that's allowed 3 drivers through. Veronese has lost out quite heavily there as Vasiliev leads on Doe. Robert now has Doe between him and the next position that he wanted. As we saw that previously, Robert was trying to get the move done on Vasiliev. We'll have Doe to deal with. And that was a driver sent down to the bottom of the pack due to a stop-go penalty. So expect his pace to be fast.
Yeah, and Robert just made a tiny mistake behind behind Doe, sorry, which meant that he is now around a second behind Doe. But that's still not far away, and if Vasiliev and Doe start to fight with each other, Robert has enough time to come closer to both of them. Because obviously, if you try to defend yourself from an attacking driver, you will have to use a different line, and therefore you will be a bit slower than you would usually be if you would drive alone. And Proietti was just in the pits. He is now still in P5. But Nico Kramer is not far behind him. Should be around 3 seconds, I suppose. 2.2 actually. So that can get interesting. Because Dustin West and Maxim Yefanov are also behind Nico Kramer. So maybe we see a very interesting fight for P5.
Yeah, talking about interesting liveries, that Porsche coloring for Dustin West, that army green, bright pink and black. Very interesting color combination indeed. Yevanov was giving some hassles to Dustin West in the corners like the S's coming up to Leocorp earlier, but right now coming down the start-finish straight, looking pretty well spread out. Closing down on Nico Kramer, we do see Yevanov come into shot later on the brakes on the inside apex as they go through the Yuxke, and Nico Kramer needs to just be careful here with 3 cars coming to attack. You need to be very, very careful. Of course, you know that the driver, like you mentioned, Fabian, about 2 minutes ago, if you do have to get on the defense, Nico Kramer going to hold off first, and Yevanov's pace probably going to pay dividends to that kind of a battle. So Nico Kramer here does have his tiny little bit of padding to Wust decreasing as Dustin finds a couple tenths here and there. Ivanov not quite there to enter into that scrap, but off camera, Kramer runs wide as they come up to Leocorp. Will come down to the braking and the run down on the exit. Both cars doing well. Looks like Kramer's got a little bit more traction coming down. Just look at the trainer cars up in front. Some of those are back markers, I believe. And that could also be interesting how the back markers decide to react to where they position their cars. Of course, probably going to remain on their lines, staying predictable where they can or moving out the way. Hurst doing a great job just slowing right down, but he's in the middle of where cars would carry a lot of speed to Cheetah. So good job from the back markers where it is a difficult place to get out the way, And we continue to watch. It will be Paulik tacking behind Yevanov. So Paulik, he's closed down that gap. We thought that Vust would be fighting, but it won't be. It will be Paulik and Yevanov forced to go defensive already, choosing that inside line. Paulik on the outside now. They will go side by side. No, they won't. Yevanov going to close the door and force Paulik to choose that front row view. But Paulik on the inside of Barbecue, they will get a great exit as Yevanov forced off wide. Once again, side by side. This is the battle for 8th place. Paulik doesn't know where to go. Yevanov once again holds off as they go to Sunset, coming down to Clubhouse. A section of corners that is fast, yet so dangerous if you touch that inside curve. And both of them not running wide enough to put a tire onto the dirt before the S's. What a great battle this has been. Yevanov is holding off on Paulik. Paulik just does not have anywhere to go as they come up to the top of the hill of Leocorp. Paulik going to try around the outside. It's not going to be a fast line, but he might be able to cut back on the inside. Yevanov wide. Paulik on the inside, down the exit. A great bit of driving from Paulik to get the move done before Mineshaft. A great bit of Porsche driving.
Well, it took Paulik quite a while to do so, almost an entire lap, but he has finally got past Maxim Yefanov, and what a way to do it as well, on the switchback up at the top of the hill. And now he's going to see if he can close down the gap to Vust ahead. But impressive move, has to be said.
Great bit of solid driving coming out, and like we said, changing up the lines. Paulik gets the move done, and now we look at Mazzo on Mazzolini on Mazzo, should I say. Mazzolini trying that inside line exit, as well as having the slip down on Mazzo. If you were to choose a color car there, Mazzolini or Mazzo, Fabian, which one are you going for?
Mazzo, 100%.
The pink car, for sure?
Yes. Just have a look at my Bathurst 3-hour car, then you will know what I mean. And my Season 2 car as well. You'll just understand then. Also,
Okay.
I'm not called a Farby girl in the Twitch chat without a reason.
So we understand where the names come from. So, I mean, I was expecting a little bit more of a debate on the color choice. I mean, you picked that instantly. Vasilyev, he's joined the party there, and he wants to have a look onto the inside of Mazzolini. Not the place to do it, towards the bottom of T2. But you know what? They will continue to battle it out at the exit of Barbecue. Difficult corner. I've said it before, but a difficult corner to get a great exit out of. And in these cars, if you just put it on the dirt, just so hard. So a train of 3 for the closing 7 minutes. I don't know. I think Ryan and Fabian, you guys should do like a full grid run through. Ryan's beautiful camera work and Fabian's beautiful pronunciation of all the drivers' names. Your accent does it for me, and I know that it does it for some people on the stream. To hear you say the drivers' names and run through the order, I think it would be a treat.
I mean, if you want, I could do a 1-hour stream just speaking up names.
I would subscribe, tier 3 subscriber.
Nice. By the way, where is Jardy at the moment? He's in P19, slowly fighting slowly fighting through the field, and he still has the potential to finish 2 positions higher. So Yeah, it wasn't probably the best race of him because of the crash that he was involved in the first lap. But I guess he still has some fun just overtaking Veronesi there. So I guess he has much fun with today's Porsche Cup race, as the Porsche Cups are very fun to drive if you know how to do it. And I guess Jardia knows how to do it in free practice, where he put a very solid lap in. He was actually P4. So if nothing would have happened, I guess he would have finished up higher.
And just to keep you guys informed, we have just over 5 minutes left of the race, and we still have 2 people yet to make a pit stop. They are the 2 leaders, Tarek Gamil and Christian Bianchi.
Ryan, I don't like that you just ignored my idea to run to the order and let Fabian use his beautiful voice. Like, I feel like I've been scammed, and you are right. I'm surprised that our 2 leaders haven't pitted. I mean, 4 minutes left to go. Surely Gamil will be going into the pits in the next lap or 2. Elects to stay out for this lap. I can tell you off screen he's done another lap, so he will start his 32nd lap. With 4 minutes 20 left on the clock. So an interesting pit strategy coming out. I'm sure Bianchi might be Bianchi going to go into the pits off camera. And I think that was the right move to make. Going to force Gamil to be the last to pit. And the leader will do so on the next lap.
I mean, George, I could run through the grid once the race is finished because we only have 4 minutes left.
No, it's 100% right. I think that's the time. I was just being greedy, Fabian.
You just want to listen to my voice, don't
100%.
I am humbled is the right word, I think. Sometimes I have to look for the right words, and sometimes I don't.
Flattered.
Flattered is the word, the right word, not the word right. Yeah, that's the word. Thank you. I mean, in the first half of the Porsche Cup season, I was always looking for the word slipstream, but somehow I couldn't remember it. Somehow it didn't came to my mind, and I always looked for it, but I just found it after looking at Google Translate.
Talking about slipstream, Paulik is tucked into Kramer's, and with 3 minutes left on the clock, this is the battle for position 5 and 6. Of 5, I mean, no one wants to be in 6 if you can take 5th, and I mean, well, Wurst, he would take that off Paulik if he could. So a 3-way battle, really. Kramer, Paulik, and Wurst will go down the start-finish straight once again to begin another battle at Kyalami. We see Kramer
and Garmin in the pits.
Paulik. Oh, Garmin going to go into the pits now. So with 2 minutes left, he's gone in. And, a send coming in from Paulik there. He's just taken that position off of Kramer. Kramer leaving the door wide open, and Paulik gets it done for free. Kramer not happy. He's flashing his lights. He feels like that was a bit of a send, but I don't know. Kramer was braking in a weird sort of place. It looked like Paulik is not giving the position back. He feels like he took that one for free. Wurst, he kind of knows now that the driver in front, he's got a bit of negative energy coming his way, and Kramer might make mistakes. Wurst's going to close the gap down as they go through the S's. The helicam shows that gap between Wurst and Kramer closing down as we see Paulik pulling away. They come up to the top of the hill, around the outside. Maybe a bit of cutback coming in from Wurst here. No, sticks with his line. Kramer with a better exit, you have to say. And once again, they will hold their positions. Paulik 5th, Kramer 6th, Wurst 7th. And there's only a couple of laps. I'm pretty sure 1 lap to go after this lap from Gamil. There'll only be 1 lap to go. 1:30 on the clock here. I think there will be 1 lap after this one to go. So the battles will continue. A pink car from Madzo. We don't have to ask which one Fabian favors, but Vasiliev is still trying to get a move done.
Yeah, Serikamatsu currently struggling a bit. Let's see if Vasilyev's car can get in front of him. He is defending in the inside. And Vasiliev trying to go trying to have an earlier apex, or sorry, no. Oh wait, it was an early apex to have more straight line speed for this straight, which is actually 2 long bands, and now on the outside. But that is not a overtaking opportunity usually, but he almost does it. Is that enough? Will he go?
He's gonna have the inside line.
Yes, he actually has done it. That's crazy. I've never seen a real overtake at that corner.
He puts his car wide on the outside of Crocodile, cuts back inside, forces himself to get the inside coming up to Cheetah. And once you alongside on that inside line, you've got that move done. What a great bit of driving. Wust, Kramer, they continue. Wust has closed that gap right down to the back of Kramer's beautifully colored Porsche that Ryan's not a fan of, but I would say I am. I'll be the color representative for the stream. Anything that is bright, beautiful, and, you know, other than pink, of course, that's Fabian's color. But Wust is trying to get more moves done, and Kramer here is going to be on the defensive. Got to keep that car positioned on inside lines. We saw why you can lose out on that exit to Cheetah earlier. Defend the inside, and unless you've got, you know, a couple of cars behind battling out, you won't be the biggest loser altogether. Unless someone can stick it around the outside, which of course we've seen a lot of. Just, I don't know what to really recommend anymore. Nowhere is safe in the Porsche Cup cars. Prietti, he's under attack from, is that Paulik there, Fabian?
Yeah, Paulik is trying to go for Proietti's place. And in the background, you can also see Wust and Kramer battling. So this almost reminds me of 2010's Turkey race in the Formula One, where we had 2 Red Bulls and McLarens in between them, and that looked almost like that, like the car behind
Ryan Gamel's good. Yeah, there we go.
Car, like a shadow behind him. And yeah, Tariq Amil just finished this race in fashion. I mean, after he has won the start, he was untouchable. So finally a good prediction from me. And Christian Bianchi is finishing second. A good race. Couldn't really challenge Tariq Amil for the win, but that was nonetheless a very good race from him. And I think also his first one in this championship. It's a very good first impression there.
Prietti and Paulik, they're going to continue to fight it out here. I think Porter's going to cross the line for third, but Prietti and Paulik, they're going to fight it out to try and see who finishes fourth. Prietti, he's going to hold off Paulik, who just ran a little bit wide out of Cheetah, touched the grass, but fourth place for Prietti, fifth place for Paulik. Kramer will cross the line in sixth, Wust in seventh, Yevanov, he will cross in eighth place. Borodai, he's still got a corner to do, but he will cross over in ninth place. That will be Alexander Borodai taking ninth. Steven Wust, he's going to go over Cheetah for the final time and secure 10th place over Jose Llamas in 11th. It looks like, ooh, Wust getting a little bit sideways, not going to be enough. Steven Wust takes 10th. Llamas 11th, and Daniela Flores should cross the line here for 12th. And he does. So Flores takes 12th, Vasilyev 13th, Madzo 14th, Jardia 15th, Linkgren 16th, Robert 17th, Veronesi 18th, Mazzolini 19th, Raimundi 20th, Miller 21st, Doe 22nd, Hurst 23rd, Ludwig... Okay, everything's changed up as we've gone over to the practice side now.
that's very disappointing now to end the race this way. But what a race we have seen, especially in the first 30 minutes. That was pretty crazy. And Simon, you've just joined in the last 25 minutes, so you have to watch the first 30 minutes as well, because you've missed a lot there.
Yeah, you missed a lot. If you only saw the 25 last minutes, the rest of the race was just as intense and a really great battle. I mean, even qualifying was a great little shootout. guys just finding insane lap times here.
Yeah, it was definitely a good way to wrap up the season. Of course, Alessandro Porta will be the champion for the Porsche Cup Season 2. So congratulations to Alessandro Porta on the victory, and I believe it's going to be Daniele Flores and Giacomo Peretti to round out the top 3. Of course, any investigations to accidents that happened in the race will occur in the following days. But I don't expect anything to change up at the top. Anyway, it has been an incredibly enjoyable evening tonight. Thank you very much to Fabian and George for joining me here tonight. It's been an incredible night of racing to round off what has been an incredible championship. And I'll tell you what, you can look forward to more Porsche Cup racing soon, because our race organiser for this championship, Stephen DeVust, has confirmed that Season 3 of this championship is in development. And of course we have the Porsche Cup Big Grid on the 27th of April at Bathurst, 50 cars going across the mountain. That's going to be incredibly exciting. And also don't forget we have the qualifying for the 12 Hours of Suzuka this weekend. And then the following weekend, we will have the full 12 hours here on Redline Motorsport, Twitch and YouTube. And that is going to be full commentary for the entire race. Looking forward to that one. Anyway, thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Any closing thoughts before we leave the good folks at home to enjoy the rest of their evening?
I can't wait for the big grid at Bathurst. That's going to be absolutely insane. If you guys have only just joined for the last couple of races here, or you've watched the whole series, I think that special event at Bathurst is going to be something to keep an eye out on. Of course, you saw how clean the drivers here were. I can't wait to honestly take all of these cars over to the mountain and to chuck them around there. It's just going to be insane. Ryan, Fabian, thanks again. It was great. It was great being here. It was great to see off the series with you guys. I wish I could have been here for the whole of the Porsche Cup, but if you guys will let me back for when you do your next Porsche Cup, I'm definitely keen to be there. Definitely a Porsche fanboy. Love these Cup Series events.
Sure, George. I mean, when Ryan is the guy for the cameras and I am the guy with calling the name or pronouncing their names in a beautiful way, you're the man for bringing the exciteness in the commentators box when it comes for exciting battles. That was brilliant today from you. And yeah, just to round off this championship, maybe this championship has seen a major twist. At first, we thought that Giacomo Prietti would win it easily, but then something has happened, like a few disconnects and not so strong performances in the last 2 races, which meant that he is now in P3, and Alessandro Porta, his teammate, is actually in P1. And I think, if I'm not wrong, if I haven't calculated it wrong, I think Giacomo Prietti just got second in the championship because he should have jumped Daniele Flores now.
Well, there you go. So, oodles of excitement all the way throughout the championship. Do make sure to join us here at Redline Motorsport again. We'll have many more exciting races coming soon. But from Fabian, George and myself here tonight, I hope you have all enjoyed what you've seen, and I hope you all have a fantastic evening.